Good morning, everyone. Today is Mother's Day. And what a different Mother's Day than any we've ever experienced, at least in our lifetimes. Can't go see Mom. Can't go out and take her out to dinner. So different to not be able to have those natural, normal connections. And what I was thinking around that is that even though that's challenging for us in many ways, there's still a mother presence, a nurturing presence that dwells in life always. And perhaps if we don't have a mom to contact, we can just be with the idea that the presence and the power of the one is also a very nurturing presence, and that we are blessed in having the system for life that we have on this planet, that life is naturally nurturing. Now, not in necessarily the same way a mom would nurture us, not that life changes our diaper or cleans us up or cleans our room or prepares us meals or any of those things. But with what life itself actually provides us and the structure that we exist in is something even greater than that. That's very important. I take nothing away from motherhood. But the idea of nurturing at a spiritual level is a very different thing, because spirit doesn't catch you when you fall. It lets you fall. And that's okay, because the idea is that whatever our experience is, we're learning from it. Whatever is happening to us, even the hard stuff, brings value into our lives. So the way the universe is organized is for life to support us by always saying yes to what we say that we desire, saying yes to what we imagine, an image in our mind's eye, saying yes to the direction we're choosing by the thoughts that we're having. That's the great nurturing of the divine in our lives. We call it the law, but and even though in the structure that we teach in Science of Mind, the law is the feminine, it seems a little harsh, so we're not going to worry about the law today. We're just going to call it life. We're going to say that life is what we use to create our experience in this physical, three-dimensional world. And by doing that, we have the benefit of the nurturing of this law, which takes the impress of our thoughts and turns that into the reality of our lives. And that's not negotiable, which means that if you're having thoughts that aren't really productive, that aren't really helpful, the law is glad to take those and create that into your life too, which puts the onus on us to know who we are and to have some discipline to direct our thoughts in a way that serve us, and not to get caught up in the muck and mire of life. Even if God's in the muck and mire of life, we are always at choice, and we can create out of our lives whatever we choose to create without exception. And to me, that's a very nurturing aspect of life, and that works for me. So what does the Science of Mind say about this? Something I've done over the last couple of weeks is refer to our Declaration of Principles. And in the Declaration of Principles, there's a particular line that really fits with this. It goes, we believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of life to all. Would anyone argue that that's a very nurturing description there of what the divine is? So that's quite a statement, as is everything in the Declaration of Principles. So what I'm going to do is kind of break this down so we can look at it and see what it's telling us. And we begin with the first one. We believe in the eternal goodness of life. So to me, that means life is naturally affirming. Life begets life. Life is all about continuing to be alive. So life does whatever it does so that it can continue doing what it does. Life, this three-dimensional experience we call life, is not really life. Life is behind that. Life is the invisible force behind this thing. It's the force that animates our bodies, that organizes our thoughts. Life is all of these things, and it would seem very clear that life wants more of that. So we have an eternal goodness. We have an affirming aspect of the divine, which is always present in us, always present in our experience of life, We sometimes have to look for it, though, because sometimes we, play the negative Nancy type of thing. Forgive me, Nancy. But the idea is that in the affirming of life, the law is saying yes. Life is saying yes to us. Whatever we want to create into our life is a spiritual experience. And though life is affirmed through itself, through this divine presence, it is not telling us how to be. It is not controlling us, and it will not save us from ourselves. We have to be responsible for that. But if we are clear, if we know who we are, and if we play from that understanding, we create a life that is affirming, a life that brings us to the place of knowing that the good is within us and all around us. And when we do that, we really do get somewhere. There's nothing in life, and I say this in the middle of a pandemic, there's nothing in life that is out to get us unless we're gettable. And if we're gettable, then we're in a place where obviously it's going to look like life did something to us. But we have to be open to that for that to happen. And I'm not suggesting that someone is wrong in a situation where it looks like life did something to them. When we hear of someone that passed, I just heard of one this morning. We're not saying that they are wrong for having succumbed to the COVID virus. We're not saying that they're bad or deficit in any way. That was their path. That was the path that somehow fit perfectly in their lives. And apparently there are lots of folks that are leaving because of this virus right now. But it's a strategy. It's not that they're victims to it. So we honor their journey without making them wrong or making something about what they did wrong. Life doesn't need to fix us because we're not broken. There's nothing about us that is wrong. There's nothing about us that is deficit. No matter how we're playing the game. That's a game that we play as human beings where we make each other wrong. We don't like what that person said or what that person did. I mean, I'm playing that game as much as anybody. There are public officials that I'm grumbling at for the way they're handling this pandemic. But they're doing it the best way they know how. And for me to find fault in them only creates an issue for me, not for them, because they're going to do what they're going to do. And mine is to figure out how to work within those parameters and still know who I am and be okay. I'm not broken. Neither are you. We're just finding our way. Everything in our lives is directed by us. Even the stuff that we don't like, we bring into our lives by worrying about it, by being concerned about it, by having fear behind it. When we do that, we find ourselves in a state of not being all that happy with what's going on in our lives. So I want to talk a little more about this pandemic that's going on. It's affecting the entire world. But I find it most valuable for me to look at what's happening around me. So I'm going to hold my thoughts to this to the boundaries of the county in North Carolina where I live and where I think most of the folks in the room live. Probably not all of you watching online. You're obviously living in lots of different places around the world, but I want to share what we're doing here in North Carolina. Buncombe County, North Carolina, as of May 7th, Friday, there were 88 confirmed cases of the COVID virus in our county. That sounds like a lot of them. How many people live in Buncombe County? Over 250,000 people live in our county. So if we have 88 people that are confirmed, and I understand that there are probably twice that many that are unconfirmed, that have no symptoms, that are not having any kind of a health issue, but they've contracted the virus and they're perfectly capable of spreading it to other people. I'm aware of that's one of the big challenges with this highly infectious virus. But knowing what we know with confirmed cases, what percentage of the population in our county would that be? That would be 0.0342%. That's 0.03 of a percentage. It's a tiny, tiny little thing. So, but just to make sure we're clear in this conversation, all it takes is one contact. for someone to get the virus. So it's not like it has to be a monstrous number for someone that you know or you yourself to contract this virus. That's true. But the way we're doing it right now, that's where the numbers are, as of now. That's where the numbers are. Now, the experts are saying that it's going to grow. I heard one on a news show yesterday saying that they can almost guarantee 80% of the population is going to end up with this virus. Maybe, maybe not. You know, the estimates are hard. Forecasts are hard to be accurate with. You make an intelligent guess. And in this situation, people tend to overstate the concern, so they get everybody's attention. Will more people get the virus? Absolutely. But remember, we're in charge of our experience. We're in charge of who we are and what we're doing. Let's look beyond confirmed cases to confirmed deaths. We have 4 in this county. 4 people have made their transition in Buncombe County that I'm aware of anyway. That's what the records say right now. So what percentage is that of the population? 1.5 1,000th of a percentage. That's like amazing. We are not having an issue with people in this county. Why is that? Social distancing, a hospital that's ready to support people that have it. I don't know where it is right now, but last I heard there were 3 people hospitalized at our medical center. So this is happening, and this has absolutely captured our attention. But the world doesn't seem to be falling apart in this part of the world right now because of this. One other thing that I found online that I thought was interesting. In Buncombe County, 1 person has died from the flu this season, which is really, really low. And that's really, really low because of our social distancing and wearing masks and doing all the things we're doing to protect ourselves. We're not only protecting ourselves from the COVID virus, but we're protecting ourselves from the flu, from getting the cold, or anything else. That's why all you're hearing about, well, you probably would only hear about COVID anyway, but there's not a lot of other health issues to report right now. How long can we sustain this? I don't know, but that's where the numbers are. So understand that you live in a place where I'm not ever suggesting that you be cavalier about this. I'm not suggesting you don't take precautions. All I'm saying is be confident in yourself that this is not your path to receive this virus and to have to deal with it. It's your choice, if you claim it to be. Let's go back to earnest words. We believe in the eternal loving kindness of life. Life is naturally nurturing. This is the essence of what I wanted to talk about today. Life is naturally nurturing because there is this sense of loving kindness in the world. Now, is everybody kind? No. Is everybody loving in their nature? Probably not all the time. But the essence of the divine is, and that dwells in every person. And I have seen in my life people who were grumpy or vindictive or angry or whatever they were going through. And if you can get past those shields, you find someone that's vulnerable, someone that's unsure, someone that's still trying to find their way. I remember I have a friend from the past, and something that I've done in my study of psychology is the Myers-Briggs type indicator, which tells you your tendencies and your preferences in life. And this big, burly, tough guy tested out, or when we did his Myers-Briggs, he came out as the stereotypical female. Huh? How does that work? Well, what was going on with him is that he was vulnerable. He was a gentle soul on the inside. But because of the way he was raised and the way he lived his life, he felt like he had to protect himself from life. He felt like he had to really macho up in everything that he did, because if he didn't, he would be taken advantage of. So what do we do in life to create that? By not knowing who we really are, not working from that truth within us, we're facing a life that looks kind of ugly or difficult or challenging. But the true nature of life is that it's loving and kind. And that if we are open to living in a loving and kind world, it's for our taking. But that starts at the point of us, to be willing to accept life that way. It's our choice. But the truth of Spirit is that loving kindness is the order of the day. And the last part of that statement, we believe in the eternal givingness of life. Life is naturally expanding. Life gives to itself. Spirit gives to itself. The whole idea of creation is for Spirit to be able to interact with itself. Why else are we here? That's exactly why we're here. Because in a void of time and space, with no time and space, there's nothing to relate to. But in a three-dimensional world, there's everything to relate to. So what a logical thing for the creator of the universe to do, to create a world where it can see itself, where it can experience itself over and over. Sometimes incognito. In fact, a lot of times incognito. It's only people who follow these kinds of teachings and understandings of how life works that we have the opportunity to look beyond that facade and see that we are the divine, that we are creating our lives, that we are interacting with the divine by loving others, by being with others, and that we're experiencing the divine in the environment on this green planet on which we live. And that by doing that, the divine experiences itself. That's the whole point. And in doing so, there is an act of eternal givingness, because everything that you give in life, everything that you receive, is all the giving nature of the divine. It's all the same thing. And it requires both. It requires that we give our time, our talent, our support in all kinds of ways. It's required that we do that to have a full, rich experience of life. But it's also a requirement that we receive the blessings of life, that we accept the thank yous, that we accept the attempts of others to help us from time to time, that we join in community so that we can be there for one another. And as I look around the ones that have joined me here today, all of you have been helpers and supporters of others and of this community in magnificent ways. I have always believed that those who are the biggest givers are the biggest receivers. Although I have known in my life a few people that were all into giving and didn't know how to receive, and they were completely out of balance. It requires both. It requires that we not only give of ourselves, but that we receive from others, because that dynamic flow of Spirit is essential for a healthy life. So this idea of eternal givingness, it's incumbent upon us to realize that we are the vehicles that make this happen. This is how the divine shows up as us in this symbiotic relationship with all of life, so that we can give and receive and grow and become more and more aware of who we are. That's the work right there. So this idea of life being nurturing is a powerful image for me. It's important for me to remember, even when life looks hard, even when there's some kind of an obstacle before me, a virus, a challenge of some sort, that I am no less loved. I am no less basking in the love of the divine in every moment of my life, with every breath, with every beat of my heart. That never goes away. And it's my choice on whether I can see it, whether I can embody it, whether I can accept it. And it's your choice in your life. So I invite you today to choose to be nurtured by the divine, and in so doing, be a nurturer to others in your life. Let's close this with a treatment. So recognizing the presence and the power of the one, that creator of all that is, this one that brings light and darkness, sound and silence, this one essence that is everything. I find myself in the midst of it. I find myself as it. I find myself as the creator of my life, and I find all those around me as the creators of their lives, for they too are this divine presence. And as each of us move forward, taking one step at a time, creating our lives, facing the challenges of the day, remembering who we are, we continue to be enlivened, enriched, and filled with an awareness of the presence of the divine as us. Our hearts are filled to overflowing. Our minds are clear and centered. We know who we are. And in so doing, we create a better world. Even when things look like some kind of catastrophe, we create a better world. And knowing that this is so, we can be grateful. I certainly am grateful for my life, for all the blessings of my life, for all the good that fills my life, because I create it that way. And with certainty that that is so for me, I shall know it for anyone who accepts it, right here and right now. For all who open their hearts and say, this is who I am. And with that clarity of knowing, I simply let this be the truth in my life and in all life, everywhere and always. And so it is. Yay. So we end these conversations with an invitation to support the center. And I have here the gifts that have come to us through the mail. I know that many others have come to us through our website. And it is incredibly important that this is happening. And I want everyone who hears my voice to know that because of the generous support of those who love this center and support it even when they don't come here, we are physically sound as an institution. We're doing this fine. So please don't worry about us. Just support us. So as I hold these envelopes in my hand, everyone that is here in the room and anyone that is watching this experience online, join me in these words. I freely and joyously give from the abundance and fullness of my overflowing wealth, knowing my gift goes with love as it touches and blesses the world. And so it is. So you are blessed. Life is blessed all around you. We're doing fine getting through this thing. Just keep doing what you're doing. I love you very much. Have a great week.